Luxury spa day turned into a nightmare when my husband casually announced that he had quit his job because a man like me deserves to be taken care of. When I laughed, his mother walked in and said, "You should be honored to serve him." I pulled out a folder, slid it across the table, and whispered, "Then you'll love reading these divorce papers." I'm a 42-year-old woman living in Austin, Texas. I've been married to my husband, Derek, for 15 years. We met in college, fell in love over shared dreams, and built a life together. I work as a senior project manager at a tech firm, and Derek was a high school history teacher. We don't have children, but we have a golden retriever named Max who is our world. It was a sunny Saturday, and I had planned a much-needed spa day at the Lake Austin Spa Resort. Work had been stressful, and I was looking forward to some relaxation. Derek had been acting distant lately, but I chalked it up to end-of-year school stress. After a rejuvenating massage and facial, I returned home feeling refreshed. Derek was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping on a glass of wine. "Hey, babe," I greeted him, placing my spa bag on the counter. He looked up, a smug smile on his face. "I quit my job today." I blinked, taken aback. "What? Why?" He leaned back in his chair, swirling the wine in his glass. "Because a man like me deserves to be taken care of." I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Good one, Derek." Just then, his mother, Patricia, walked in from the living room. She had been visiting for the weekend. "You should be honored to serve him," she exclaimed, her eyes gleaming with pride. I stared at both of them, realization dawning. They were serious. I felt a mix of emotions: shock, anger, betrayal. Derek had always been supportive, an equal partner. This sudden shift was jarring. I took a deep breath, walked over to the drawer, and pulled out a folder I had prepared months ago when I first noticed Derek's growing entitlement and attachment. I slid it across the table to him. "Then you'll love reading these divorce papers." Patricia gasped. "How dare you?" I looked her straight in the eyes. Respect is earned, not demanded. The next few weeks were a blur. Derek moved in with his mother, and I focused on rebuilding my life. I leaned on my friends, took up yoga, and even started painting again. I realized that I had lost myself in the marriage, constantly compromising and accommodating. It was time to prioritize my happiness. Leaving Derek was the hardest decision I've ever made, but it was also the most empowering. I rediscovered my strength, my passions, and my worth. Things didn't go quiet after that day. Not even close. The day after I handed Derek the divorce papers, I started getting calls. First from his mother, then from his sister, then from people I barely knew, like his old coworker Mike, who I hadn't seen in years, trying to talk me down. "Derek's going through a rough patch," they all said. "You should be patient." "Be patient," I told Mike. "He quit his job because he said he deserves to be taken care of like a king." Mike went quiet after that. But then it got worse. A few days later, I came home from work, opened the door, and saw Patricia sitting on my couch. My door wasn't locked because I live in a quiet neighborhood, and I never expected her to just walk in like that. "What the hell are you doing here?" She stood up slowly, like she was in no rush. "This is my son's house." "No, this is my house. I bought it 5 years ago. It's in my name only. He lived here, didn't he? He helped paint these walls." I couldn't believe she was standing in my living room, arguing about wall paint like that gave her son property rights. I pointed at the door. "Out. Now." She didn't move at first. Then she muttered something like "ungrateful woman" and finally left. I locked the door behind her and stood there, hand shaking on the doorknob. The next morning, I called a locksmith and changed every lock. Then came the messages. Derek started texting me long paragraphs, begging me to reconsider. He said he had a vision of our future, me working, him managing the home, and us living in harmony. I didn't even respond. A week later, a letter came from a lawyer. He was asking for spousal support. I read it 3 times. He had been jobless for 2 weeks and was already asking me to pay him monthly. I called my own lawyer, who calmly explained we'd fight it, but warned me Derek was about to get nasty. He was right. Derek went online. He made Facebook posts painting himself as the victim, saying I abandoned him after years of loyalty. He said I was a cold, heartless woman who threw him away like trash the moment he was vulnerable. People who didn't know the full story started messaging me, calling me selfish. But then, he slipped. He posted a long rant one night, drunk apparently, tagging me and everything. He said, and I quote, "A real woman knows her place is to support her man, especially when he's destined for greatness. And if she refuses, then she's just jealous of his power." That post blew up. And not in the way he wanted. People started calling him out. Women commented things like, "Destined for greatness, but can't keep a job, and this is what you left your wife for? To become a full-time mooch." Even his own cousin replied, "You sound like a loser, Derek." He deleted the post the next day, but it was too late. Screenshots were everywhere. The next twist came when my lawyer discovered something. Derek hadn't just quit his job. He'd been fired. For showing up late repeatedly and for refusing to attend meetings because he was above them. His boss had sent a letter to HR saying Derek believed the school should pay him extra just for showing up. I sat there reading the report, and I just laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. But it explained everything. The ego. The sudden need to feel powerful. He didn't leave teaching on his own terms. He was humiliated. And now he was trying to rewrite the story. To make himself the hero. I stayed quiet online. I didn't respond to his posts or his messages or his flying monkeys. I was playing the long game. A week after the spousal support request, something strange happened at work. My boss called me into her office. She looked uncomfortable, like she didn't want to be having the conversation. She handed me a manila envelope. "This was mailed to the office," she said. "Addressed to you, but you should see this." Inside were printed screenshots, dozens of them. Fake Twitter posts, altered emails that made it look like I was leaking confidential company information. And one fake LinkedIn message where I was supposedly offering to sell insider tips for cash. I stared at them. The photoshopping wasn't even that good. My last name was spelled wrong in half of them. But it hit me like a punch in the gut. Derek was trying to get me fired. I sat there, cold all over. My boss leaned in. "We know it's not real, but we're documenting everything just in case." I nodded. I didn't even have words. That night, I finally responded to one of his texts. "Try that again, and I go public. I have receipts." He didn't reply. For 3 days. Then, he sent me a voice note, just heavy breathing, like he wanted me to know he was still there. Still watching. Still trying to scare me. I sent it straight to my lawyer. The next twist came from someone I hadn't expected, his ex, a woman named Teresa. I'd never met her, but she found me through Facebook and sent a message that started with, "I just want to say, I believe you." I went through the same thing. She told me Derek had done something similar to her in their early 20s. Back then, she had been the breadwinner too. He quit his job and told her she was living his dream for him. When she refused to support him, he trashed her online, told everyone she abused him emotionally, and even faked emails to her job. I felt sick. She said she stayed quiet back then, moved cities, changed jobs. She never told anyone because she was ashamed. But she had kept everything: emails, texts, photos. She offered to share them with my lawyer. I cried when I read her messages, not out of sadness, but out of anger. He'd done this before, and no one had stopped him. I had to. So I made a plan. I gathered everything. Screenshots of his fake posts, the doctored images he sent my job, the voicemail. Teresa's proof. I gave it all to my lawyer. And then, I made a second copy and put it in a safe deposit box under my sister's name. Just in case. And that's when Derek made one final move. He tried to break into my house. It was 2:47 a.m. when Max started barking like mad. I looked through the peephole and saw him, Derek, trying to open the front door with a key. A key that didn't work anymore. He stood there for a long time, jiggling the handle, muttering something under his breath. Then he banged on the door. Hard. "Open up," he shouted. "We're not done." I didn't say a word. I just hit the button on my phone to call the police. He left before they arrived, but they took a report. I showed them the messages, the fake documents, the voicemail, everything. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. A week after the police report, I finally started breathing normally again. For the first time in months, I wasn't walking on eggshells. But I still had to deal with court. Divorce, harassment, and the spousal support hearing were all coming up. I was ready. Or at least I thought I was. Then came the final blow. Derek filed a countersuit. He claimed I had emotionally abused him during the marriage. That I was cold, manipulative, and made him feel small. He said I used my money to control him and never let him be a man. He dragged out messages from years ago, old arguments we had, where I was short with him after a bad day at work. Stuff that happens in any long-term relationship. But now it was evidence. I won't lie. It stung. Because there were times I wasn't my best self. There were nights I was tired, annoyed, impatient. I said things I shouldn't have. I brushed him off when he needed attention. I failed to see when the cracks were forming. I wasn't perfect. But I also wasn't cruel. I didn't lie or fake documents or try to ruin his life. I didn't betray our marriage. Still, it made me pause. I talked to my therapist about it. She reminded me of something that stuck with me. Owning your mistakes doesn't mean excusing theirs. Court came fast. The room was cold, sterile, and tense. Derek came in wearing a suit too tight in the shoulders and fake confidence. Patricia sat behind him, glaring at me the whole time like she could curse me into stone. His lawyer tried to paint him as a victim of a controlling, career-obsessed wife. Said Derek sacrificed his dreams to support me. My lawyer calmly laid out the real timeline, his job loss, his lies, the harassment, the attempted break-in, and the digital abuse campaign. Then came Teresa. She showed up. She took the stand and told her story. She didn't cry. She didn't break. She looked Derek straight in the eyes and said, "You ruined me once. You won't ruin her." There was dead silence when she finished. The judge wasn't impressed with Derek's evidence, especially when our forensic tech expert testified that the social media posts were altered, metadata and all. Then came the voicemail. When they played it, I saw Derek flinch. The judge looked disgusted. It was the final nail. In the end, the court denied Derek's spousal support request, ruled in my favor on the harassment claims, and granted a restraining order. But the real moment, the one I'll remember forever, was outside the courthouse. Patricia followed me into the parking lot. She walked up with her eyes wide, full of rage and something else. Fear, maybe? "This is your fault," she spat. "You've ruined him." I looked at her for a long time. And then I pulled out my phone, opened a photo of me and Max at the lake, smiling, happy, free. "No," I said. "He ruined himself. I just stopped cleaning up after him." She didn't say another word. She just turned and walked away. A month later, I heard from a mutual friend that Derek had moved to live with an aunt out of state. No job, no plan, just resentment. I wish I could say I was totally over it now. That I don't still flinch when I hear someone at the door late at night. That I don't question myself every time I feel anger or sadness. But healing isn't clean. It's not neat. It's not perfect. I made mistakes in that marriage. I should have spoken up sooner. I should have left when I saw the first signs. I should have stopped trying to save someone who didn't want to grow. But I finally did, and that was the most vengeful thing of all. Because while Derek is still chasing power, approval, and someone else to take care of him, I wake up every morning in peace. And peace? Peace is the best revenge.